If anything, deep inside every Spaniard is a traveler. The pride for Christopher Columbus and the marine scent seem to push them out into the road towards adventures and new geographic discoveries. Our today's story is about a group of Spanish filmmakers or videographers, as they call them today, who embarked on conquering Kazakhstan's mountains, steppes and deserts, and along the way making a film about our magnificent nature and great tourist opportunities and sharing it with the world. We have a unique opportunity to look into the entrails of the filming process. One can endlessly rhapsodize the diversity and wealth of Kazakhstan's nature. For centuries, its mountains, steppes, deserts and woods have been the best friends of those admiring the native land. It replied with love to love and gave food, shelter and protection to those who truly felt it. The changing times may have altered our way of life, but some things remain unchanged. As before, our nature is generously sharing with us everything that it has. Whereas in early days biological diversity and landscapes mostly attracted hunters and conquerors, today it is tourists who are becoming increasingly fascinated with the nature. The permanent outdoor Kazakhstan expedition invites you to take part in the extreme photo safari together with a group of Spanish filmmakers and see the most picturesque corners of Kazakhstan. The goal of the expedition is to make a film about the tourist attractions of our country. What about the singing sand dune sings? What does a real snowstorm look like? What happens to seabed after raising 1500 meters above sea level? What is Przhevalski's horse's favorite food? What are the Tugay jungles? What are white-tailed gazelles doing on the banks of the Joly river? These and many other questions drove our Spanish friends into a journey around the southwest spurs of the Jatasu Alatau.
We didn't get too lucky with the weather, especially for a journey as complicated as this one. But true romantics skip the shortcuts and don't look for easy paths. Our Spanish friends too appear to be real deal adventure seekers. Yesterday there was a storm emergency announcement. In this type of weather they usually close the passes in the southwestern spurs of the Jatasu Alatau. This morning, however, they made an announcement that the road through the Altinimel Pass was cleared and thus we can try our luck. The expedition plan is the following. We want to travel along the spurs of the Jatasu Alatau, including Altinimel, Degeres, Chulak, and hit the mountains of Aktau and Katutau, the singing sand dune, and then ascend to the upper streams of the Joly river and examine the local floodplain terrace forests. Previously, the mountain range separating the Semirechye or the land of the seven rivers and the Jungar plain was called Jungar Alatau. Its current name is Jatasu Alatau, and in fact, it fits the historical and the geographical reality better. It is exactly in the glaciers of the Jatasu Alatau, stretching for 450 kilometers from Lake Alakol up to the Joly River, where the rivers, carrying the lifeblood to the Jatasu Valley, receive birth. The fertile Joly Valley rests between the Jatasu Alatau and the northern Tian Shan mountain ranges. For thousands of years, it served as a popular trade and military route. Our permanent expedition intends to follow the ancient merchant and invader paths, which currently are being actively explored by tourists and off-road admirers, and go from the southern capital of Kazakhstan to the border with China. The photo safari team left Almaty early morning, heading to another oblast center, the city of Taldy-Kurgan. This route is familiar to many Almaty residents. After reaching the settlement of Sarkand, the road curves right, leading up to the pass of Altin-Emel. As we're getting closer to the pass, the weather gets worse, the wind gets stronger, and finally, we drive right into a real steppe snowstorm.
The pass is closed. Several hundred vehicles are waiting in line to cross it. Up on the pass, right this very moment, highway service guys are clearing the way. They promised it would not take more than 2 hours. We have to wait. The blizzard intensifies. The snowplows remove the snow off the road, but the wind builds new snowdrifts almost simultaneously. Right before the pass, emergency response services and the police control the traffic, trying to make it one way, at least within the most dangerous stretch of the road. One vehicle at a time and taking turns from both sides of the pass. For now, this is the only way to ensure safe traffic movement across the pass. We hardly get over the pass and out of the narrow canyon, and the scenery changes completely. The Joly Valley spreads in front of us as far as we can see. For those who have never experienced it before, it might seem impossible. But with a gusting blizzard up in the mountains, down in the valley, it is all nice and sunny. What a view and what a contrast! The Spanish guys are shocked. We decide to spend the night at a hotel in the settlement of Bashchi because this is where the administration of Altyn Emel State National Park is located. And in order to be able to drive vehicles within the limits of the park, we need a special pass and an accompanying ranger. Altyn Emel is the oldest national park in the country. In order to preserve the unique landscapes with rich flora and fauna and a whole array of historical monuments, in 1996 the government established a special protection regime over the territory of more than 0.5 million hectares. More than 150 professional inspectors and game biologists are guarding and taking care of the park's ecosystems, which include mountain, desert, steppe and bottomland zones with peculiar environmental systems and complex and diverse flora and fauna. Our expedition is going to visit all these natural areas within the limits of the park and obtain as much useful and interesting information about their features as possible. Presently, the government is doing a lot to promote Kazakhstan in the world. I believe that our park is one of the places which make our country a special and unique place. We signed a memorandum of cooperation to attract more tourists to the park. I hope that within the next year or so we will manage to increase the tourist flow to Altyn Emel 2- or 3-fold. Before dinner, our guests briefly tour the museum located in the building of the park's administration. The museum offers a lot of information about local landscapes, animal and plant kingdoms of the park, and historical attractions located on its territory in different languages. We also use this time to coordinate the plan for tomorrow with the park's director. The park stretches for 140 kilometers in the latitudinal direction along the coast of Kapchagai water reservoir and the Joly River, and it is not by accident that the national park was created specifically here. The relatively small Jetesu area incorporates a wide spectrum of landscapes and biological diversity. It includes such a large number of visual illustrations of our planet's geological evolution that Altyn Emel is rightly called an open-air museum. In the course of one day, one can have a nice walk in the mountains of volcanic and sedimentary origin, then go to a waterless desert, and after that enjoy the serenity of bottomland and wetland jungle. Here it is possible to find the remains of prehistoric animals and touch the mysteries of the long-gone civilizations. The richness and diversity of the wild nature of Semirechye overwhelm everybody who comes here. Over the last few years, the tourist flow into the national park has increased many-fold. The decision is that Murat Satigaliyev, senior officer of the park's security, will be our guide.
Біздің Altyn Emel мемлекеттік құлдық табиғат паркінде жайран, қаракөрік.
In the park we have about 3,500 white-tailed gazelles or jayrans, 3,700 kulans and 3,800 teke mountain goats. The registered population of Arcars or Mouflons fluctuates because they migrate. One year it is 170 heads, and the next one it can be 220. The 30 kilometers long Aktau mountain massif finds itself in the southeastern part of the park. Translated from Kazakh, Aktau stands for White Mountains, and it might be that they received their name in winter, being covered with snow, as they're not really white, but red, brown, blue and green. In the course of various geological eras, microorganisms' remains had been accumulating on the bottom of the primary ocean. About 70 million years ago, the ocean stepped back, allowing the formation of lake and river ecosystems inhabited by crocodiles, huge turtles and other representatives of a tropical paleofauna across the newly emerged dry land. At the end of the Paleogene, tectonics lifted the former seabed above the surrounding plain, and this is exactly what we see here today. Time, the sun, wind and rains have supplemented the act of creation, having turned the Aktau Mountains into a true natural masterpiece. The times of humid tropical climate are long gone. For several millennia, these parts have been mostly deserts with corresponding flora and fauna. Local plants and animals don't mind it and, in fact, are perfectly adapted to it. The root system of Saxaul or Haloxylon, for instance, is so big and strong that it can suck groundwater from 50 meters deep. Saxaul groves look like the Japanese bonsai gardens, absolutely gorgeous and astonishingly irregular. Another mountain range, Katutau, is located roughly 30 kilometers away from Aktau. Katutau and Aktau look similar on the outside, but have different origins. Whereas Aktau consists of sedimentary strata, Katutau appeared due to volcanic activity. The remnants of two enormous paleovolcanoes were found in the eastern part of the ridge. Up until today, you can guess prehistoric lava flows in the overall shapes of the mountains, like gigantic octopuses stretching their tentacles tens of kilometers out into the plainland. Just imagine how powerful that volcano had to be to burst the planet's crust of such thickness and to throw lava so far away. I definitely wouldn't want to be a dinosaur living nearby at that time. Meanwhile, the team continues its journey along the Ili Valley. In the west, we see the mountaintops of the large and small Kalkans, decorated with the newly fallen snow. In between them, there hides another popular tourist attraction, also created by the genius of Mother Nature. One can enjoy not only its view, but also the sound. Here it is, the singing sand dune. This sand dune, 3 kilometers long and 150 meters high, was formed by the sands blown into one place from the shallows of the Ili River by two steppe winds. One of them blowing from the west is called Balkash, and the one blowing from the east is called Chilik. The two furious brothers have been fighting each other for centuries, but none of them is able to win completely, for their paths are crossed by the large and small Kalkans, upon hitting which both winds lose some of their force and stand exactly in the valley between the two summits. In the summer, the dune sings very loudly. Its sound resembles the sound of an approaching helicopter. The noise is everywhere and is deafening. It looks like the snowstorm made a stop here too. The roads leading to the singing sand dune are all under a thick layer of snow, and our trucks are struggling through the drifts. Our friends who are from the south of Spain have never experienced anything like this and consider it a real challenge and adventure. No pain, no gain. It's all under snow, total off-road, guys. We are almost there, but she is singing a sad song for some reason. Why are you singing One-Way Ticket, Katya?
Она поет песенку One Way Ticket.
It was even more pain to get all the filming gear on top of the singing sand dune. But the panorama that opened up before us when we finally got there was worth every second of it.
The beauty of nature here in Kazakhstan is so impressive and at the same time is so unknown, and we hope through this work national parks and all the natural spaces people can find here would be shown and would be communicated to the rest of the world, because we think this is impressive, is amazing, and you can find here really beautiful areas, so huge, so at a different scale. For European people, we can't imagine how big is and how impressive is this country in terms of nature.
The Joly Valley is protected by mountain ridges all around. In the north, one can see the snowy caps of the Jatisu-Alatau ridge, and in the west there is a whole chain of ridges, namely Altinemel, Degeres and Chulak. This place is one of the favorite habitats of Teke mountain goats. Some of the local herds can have up to several hundred heads.
Я уже не помню точно, в каком издании, но где-то я читал еще в советские времена, что
I do not remember exactly what scientific journal it was, but there was one article that said that during the time of the Soviet Union, the territory of the Kapchagai hunting reserve had the highest hoofed animal population density in the whole country. There were a lot of goited gazelles and mountain goats here. Then it was managed by the Economic Directorate of the USSR Council of Ministers. The former system of environmental and wildlife protection was rather different. It was all paid for from the budget. State officials could hunt here for free, whereas common people were not allowed to come here. Many Almaty dwellers had no idea that there were places with such a rich animal world close to their town. Excessive population density of hoofed animals required regulation and control. Since there was no commercial hunting, the culling of mountain goats was done by special meat production and hunting squads. After the establishment of the park, the nature conservation strategy changed. Now tourists and commercial hunters have to pay a fee to come to the park, and specially trained professionals serve as park rangers as well as carry out necessary biotechnical activities.
Дикой природы, чем отстрел, бригадный отстрел на мясо этих животных.
Dozens of white-tailed gazelles or jayrans are gambling in the foothill plain. It is their mating season now, when the males enter into ritual tournaments and the winners pursue or chase the defeated ones for some time. This is exactly the reason why the mating period of many hoofed animals is called chase or rutting. About 30 years back, a zoological experiment took place. About 30 kulans were relocated from the Bas Kelmes island in the Aral Sea to the coast of Kapchagai. And it turned out more than successful. As of today, the national park can boast of the largest population of kulans in the world. It is coming up to 4,000 heads. Whereas the condition of kulan population does not cause any concern among the specialists, it is still too early to say anything about the outcomes of another experiment, relocating several species of Przhevalski's wild horses to Altynymel. 12 of them already adapted to local conditions. However, the creation of a genetically stable population requires at least 100 of non-closely related animals. Due to the fact that all in all there are only 150 Przhevalski's wild horses in the world, out of which 12 live here in Altynymel National Park, it is no easy task. In the course of the day, the filming crew has stopped at 10 different locations. The Spanish videographers are doing their best to film as much as possible and at times are overwhelmed with the diversity of landscapes. Unfortunately, our tight schedule does not let us stay too long in one place, so we wave goodbye to Altynymel and continue with our journey. We should always keep in mind the main purpose of our video expedition, which is to portray the opportunities for ecotourism in Kazakhstan to the best extent possible. Our next stop will be in the Tugay jungle along the Joly River. The operators are working almost non-stop. The harsh field conditions don't make it any easier either, and our Spanish friends are forced to recognize that a trip like this is not something that they're used to every day. But it makes them happy.
Don't worry, be happy!
When going on a trip, your food should not take too much space, as you have to carry a lot of filming and photo gear with you. Another important thing is that your food doesn't go bad fast.
А в таких длительных экспедициях нужно особое внимание уделять.
Food ration for long expeditions should be thought out and planned carefully and thoroughly. In winter there is no hope for the gifts of nature, as there is during summer. At this time of the year it is going to be really hard to find something edible under the snow. In the field, it is difficult to cook dishes which we are accustomed to at home. Eating dry food only like instant noodles, sandwiches and canned food for a long time will not do you any good. We always try to use as healthy and as highly energetic foods as possible. Nuts, dry fruits and honey. Don't try to save in your travel foods. Treating gastritis after bad food will be more expensive than buying good food.
Гастриты лечить потом придется дороже.
Close to the border city of Jarkent, the expedition crosses the Joly River to get to its left-hand bank, where the Tugay jungle is the lushest. A few moments ago, there was an endless step behind the car window, and suddenly the travelers entered a totally different world. The biodiversity is even more vigorous on the border between the landscape zones. It is home to dozens of species of animals and plants featured only here in floodplain ecosystems. The Aral Sea crisis broke the water balance of the Sirdarya and Amudarya rivers, and thus the forest cover along their banks decreased significantly. The former wildlife diversity of the Joly River, on the contrary, managed to survive. Tugay or riparian forests are the inundated terrace woods along Central Asian rivers. The term itself is of Kazakh origin but was accepted as a proper term by the science community. All the more so because such forests exist only in our parts. They consist mostly of silverberry or jidda, as locals call it, grey or Asiatic poplar and several willow species. Next time when you hear this name you will know what these almost impassable thickets are called. The Tugay jungle. The width of the strip of Tugay woods along the Joly River sometimes reaches 1 kilometer, and be careful not to get lost there. As opposed to humans, boars, roes and pheasants feel themselves at home here. Boars as a rule live close to water. in inundated woods and reed bottomland meadows. Pheasants hide in dense branches of jida during the day and come out to forest glades to search for food in the morning and in the afternoon. The scientists have separated the Semirechynsk pheasant from other pheasants as it looks significantly different from species living in European countries. Before all, it is much larger and its appearance is different too. The river floodplain has a lot of dead arms, lakes and canals full of fish during spring high water period. Konstantin Kikvidze, one of the expedition participants, manages to film an Acipensa nudiventris, one of sturgeon species, in one of such ponds. The Aral Acipensa nudiventris was released into the Ili-Balkhash basin in 1932 and feels fine here. Our Spanish guests are full of impressions, emotions and joy. This is not a surprise because they were able to visit mountains, desert and Tugay jungle all in one day. This is a rare luck not only for foreign nature admirers, but also for us living amongst this beauty.
I think this video it's an attraction for the tourists around the world to see the landscape and to see the people and to know this country, because this is amazing.
Bueno, el propósito del viaje es recoger esa riqueza natural que tiene Kazajstán.
The purpose of our trip is to film the country's natural environment and show it to the world. With the help of our photo safari friends, we are trying to show the landscapes, mountains, lakes, canyon, etc. of Kazakhstan and say that it is a great country to discover.
Para intentar recoger en el mínimo tiempo la mayor riqueza.
Туристические ресурсы Казахстана огромны. У нас есть все необходимое для того, чтобы превратить туристический кластер.
Tourism resources of Kazakhstan are enormous. We have everything to turn our tourist cluster into a big industry, although it will require a lot of effort. Each of us at his or her own place can do a share of this hard work. Private tourist companies need to improve the quality of their services. National parks and hunting tourist farms need to take measures to increase their animal populations. Guest retail and air travel business has to develop with the account of high competition and global market requirements as to the quality of tourism products. If, for example, it is easier and cheaper to go to Turkey or, say, Thailand than to the Ili River, then people will do exactly that. Advertising is also greatly needed. Separate tourist operators advertise their specific touristic products, but the task of advertising Kazakhstan as a country and a tourist destination should be a common and shared task. Our nature is rich and diverse enough for the people of the world to learn about it and to enjoy it. We hope that our joint work with our Spanish colleagues and friends will add to the goal of developing the tourism of Kazakhstan.
Внесет свою малую толику в развитие имиджа Казахстана как страны привлекательной для туристов. Природа Казахстана, ее красоты и историческое наследие заслуживают того, чтобы о нем узнали во всем мире.
The challenging but more than interesting journey of the Spanish filmmakers across Kazakhstan is ending. In the course of the expedition, all members of the team became real friends and don't want to break up. Nevertheless, our guests have to go back to sunny Spain, but the photo safari team will continue on its way to the northern Tian Shan, searching for the snow leopard.